And in our sports news, Uganda bows out of CECAFA after 1-1 draw with Tanzania. A very good evening once again. Welcome to Ubc News Tonight. My name is Sharon Chomche. In our top stories of the day, President Yoweri Museveni has warned military trainers against cowboyism and directed them to integrate techniques in an ideological context. Now, Museveni cautioned the armed forces trainers at the pass of out of 171 counter-terrorism officers of the School of Military Intelligence and Security in Nakasongola. The officers had undergone months of rigorous mental and physical training.
The youthful military officers dry practiced 8 action-packed drills during which they will respond instinctively and without delay to enemy fire while running, crawling, jumping and shooting at targets set at 25 meters, 50 meters and 100 meters and neutralizing them in seconds. President Yoweri Museveni keenly watched their moves and skills.
But of course the situation you are dealing with here is a specific one of close combat. But it's a good beginning because it gives you confidence, because even when you are in a bigger conflict, it still works, it still helps. These techniques, you need to localize them. Don't just take all of them and you think that they would work.
The graduates have undergone training in combating terrorism, violent extremism, cyber threats, politically motivated violence, and threats that transcend borders. Museveni, however, warned against cowboyism and directed the trainers to integrate techniques in an ideological context.
You use their training for this group to develop battle drills that are correct. Otherwise, you can make mistakes. Secondly, don't look at yourself as cowboys. We don't want cowboyism here. Because if cowboyism could work, the Americans would not have been defeated in Vietnam. Because they go with all these techniques, but without ideological context.
Museveni, who had prior broken ground for the construction of the Military Intelligence and Security School, estimated to cost 40 billion shillings, commended Major General Abel Kandiho, the in-charge chieftaincy of military intelligence, for ensuring that the training is done by local trainers from the Uganda People's Defense Forces, which has built their capacity and pledged to build the military school to a full professional institution.
Sir, the school, which initially conducted only basic intelligence courses for both intelligence officers and militants, has since developed capacity and upgraded to include intermediate and advanced intelligence courses as well as specialized training.
The Chief of Defense Forces, General Wilson Badi, said the completion of the training by the elite forces is part of building a professional army that is modern, effective and efficient to contribute to regional peace. At least 175 officers graduated, among them were 5 women. The overall best student was Private Twonjere Kenneth. The most professional was Private Imalingat Gabriel, while the most disciplined was Private Wambale Leon, and the best female student was Private Namuhoma Madina. Dennis Igoa for UBC News.
The campaign against foot and mouth disease in Western Region District is failing due to free entry and exit through Uganda-Rwanda porous borderline. Now, this has been exacerbated by the existence of a livestock market a few kilometers away from Uganda and Rwanda border. Informal business between Rwanda and Uganda is thriving as traders and local communities resort to use of illegal routes across the border to access either country, mainly for livestock and agriculture produce. This is after Rwanda shut its border with Uganda and recent move by Uganda to stop livestock in areas affected by foot and mouth disease.
To ascertain which farms they are coming from. We cannot ascertain their health status. It therefore becomes difficult for us to control the disease, which is our major concern as in Ntungamo district. Because we are lucky up to now in the region, we have not had an outbreak of foot and mouth disease.
Ntungamo Resident District Commissioner George Bakunda says heads of cattle have been impounded in the recent past, but illegal trade continues to thrive. This was at the recent meeting with the Minister of State for Animal Industry, Lieutenant Colonel Bright Ramirama, held at Ntungamo Municipal Council Hall. Ramirama, however, says the cattle being impounded is not only from Rwanda, but also from Tanzania through Rwanda, following a tightened quarantine in Rakai and the Singilo district. He asked the district authorities to continue impounding and auctioning the cattle found in the district unlawfully.
These animals from the neighboring country come whose origin we are not very sure of, then we are at the risk of contracting a disease which we are trying to fight. So I'm happy during our discussion with the minister, he has every guide that these animals whose origin is not known to us, we should not allow them to cross our district. So we are going to implement that guidance. We are going to continue impounding these trucks carrying these animals and putting them in public auction.
In Ntungamo District Chairperson Samuel Muchunguzi thanked the Minister of Agriculture for escalating the campaign against livestock disease in the area.
Now they must deal with the one who is transporting them. And if a DVO give a permit to knowing that these cows are not from Uganda, we shall deal with the DVO. If the trader is caught at night with cows, that is breaking the law, those cows should be auctioned. I think when we auction them 4 or 5 times, people will back off.
Ntungamo District Veterinary Officer Yakeba Sulila says some traders found with livestock from Rwanda are also in possession of international animal trade licenses, which makes it hard to enforce travel movement guidelines. He said some of the livestock have movement permits from Rukige District, having crossed through Kamwezi border point.
So you find that until we are a unit as the security team, the technical team, that's when we can easily contain this challenge. And if we are using the same tool of ownership, then we can manage. In a number of occasions, like 3 times, we've had those animals that have no ownership or traceability, which indicates they are not resident. And also on those 3 occasions, we've had to caution and also ask the owners to verify where the farms they came from and which farms they grazed those animals from. So that's why it creates high suspicion that these animals are not residents of Ntungamo, are not local animals of Ntungamo. They could be either from our neighboring district or they could also be from our neighboring countries, since they don't have the documentation which clearly puts them from Ntungamo.
Now, National Resistance Movement cadres who have supported the government of Uganda for a long time have condemned the enemies who have started threatening the Prime Minister Robina Nabanja over her work. They now want her security beefed up to prevent any possible bump-off. This was during a meeting at Teak Hotel Kawempe near Kampala district.
Prime Minister Robina Nabanja this week intimated that there are people threatening to bump her off due to her relentless campaign against corruption.
Of course, if somebody can drive from Kampala up to my home area to look for a brother, my brother who is a town clerk in the village, to ask him such a question, it seems there is something is wrong.
The National Resistance Movement cadres have now come out to express their disappointments over the threats from the corrupt people who they say are fighting the hard-working Prime Minister. Mutwa Job Richard NRM cadre wants President Museveni to address this issue before the Prime Minister thinks of resigning and have those mafias apprehended.
Intimidated. Don't get scared. We are ready and we will mobilize all right-thinking Ugandans to defend you up to the final dot, even if it costs for our lives. We will protect you, we will be your human shield. What we need from you, continue with your good job, expose all of these idiots, my president called them pigs, and we shall do the needful.
He also requested the president to increase the security of the Prime Minister with immediate effect.
It is ready evidence that she's been threatened. We don't need to delay and see again the likes of incidents we had with the General Katumba Wamala again. We should not make that mistake anymore. Let our president order for the commandos under SFC to be deployed to guard her, including her properties like homes.
Investing in technology. If anything can happen, waba wekibaddewo ku motoka ye oba ku bulamu bwe ujali ne jasura tufuna instant signal.
These cadres also want the permanent secretary from the office of the Prime Minister to be arrested for giving a false report to the Prime Minister over the COVID-19 substandard relief in Kasese.
We request that the permanent secretary that gave Prime Minister a wrong report be arrested, charged, and prosecuted properly, or that Prime Minister should be retired in the public interest. In fact, if you say retire somebody in the public interest, this would be the first culprit, if any.
Dongo Shema Frederick, a cadre from Butaleja, revealed that they cannot afford to hold their hands and watch mafias threaten the Prime Minister, who is fighting corruption in the country.
The President of the Republic of Uganda intervenes faster. Mr. President, sir, the problem our good Prime Minister has now on earth. Don't leave her like that. Otherwise, she will be intimidated. And if she reaches a point of intimidation, she will withdraw and things will go back to the normal, where they were. Where theft, where every program under office of Prime Minister, the biggest percentage of the money spent on it is taken away by these corrupt elements and their surrogates in the system and private sector. So, Mr. President, urgently intervene and do something about this corruption.
These have also suggested that the person who traveled from Kampala to Kakumiro to threaten Nabanja should be arrested. These cadres, who include Mutua Job Richards, Dongo Shema Frederick, Mutebi Samuel, and Lubega Mohamud Muwada, are now requesting all the people, including religious leaders, to come out strongly on this issue and condemn corruption.
Nsaba Munnayuganda yenna ayagala ensi ye aveeyo alwanisa abantu abo be tuyita abalabbayi, abakenuzi, ababbi, abatalumirwa nsi yaffe, bave ku ggwanga lyaffe ligende mu maaso.
The team strongly believes that Prime Minister Robinah Nabanja is the right person to fight corruption in Uganda, given the service so far done ever since she assumed office.
A land wrangle has erupted in MBARARA City, Kakowa Division, Lubidi, where 4 businessmen are conniving to grab 4 acres of land from Mawan Kayongo Juko over double titling. Kayongo Juko is now living in fear following intimidation from police to vacate the disputed land.
The 65-year-old Kayongo Juko has lost hope of possessing his land following a group of people claiming the land. Kayongo Juko alleges that he bought the 4-acre land in contention from Ekoju Joventine, now deceased, in 2005.
Kubetaka lino lya muzeeyi lyaffe nentandika okuzimba bulungi ennyumba yange ebeetuuse ku wall plate ndi mu kusa ne bagikuba ne bagiteeka ku ttaka.
The claimants of the land include Charles Atamba, Kenneth Elector, Pastor Cyrus Taibwa, and Abel Bojero. Kayongo Juko alleges that he bought the 4-acre land in contention from Ekoju Joventine, now deceased, in 2005.
Endagaano ezifu obujulizi bwe tulina nti ettaka lya muzeeyi kuba alina endagaano eyali oba lisikidde gwe yasikira gwe yaguza gwe yaguza n'alyoka aguza taata naye nga bonna endagaano bazikolera mu ofiisi yono LC wano aliwo edda mu 1900 oba lumeka wedde byeddedda.
Claimants of the land are now using police and the local leadership in the area to intimidate the former occupants of the land.
Ne bakwata ffe ababatutteyo ne basiba taata ennaku okumala ennya nange nemba nga sikyalina kasente ke nina kuddamu kusitula nnyumba nembeerawo nga bwendi baamenya eno ne bamenya n'ewaka wano nali nsitudde rooms nnya nga ntuuse bubateeramu emitayimba wallahi ndowooza ne payipo ogiraba yiri nali ensimbye nti nga nteeka mu mitayimba.
However, there are also claims that the land in contention is double-titled with another one in Rebushuri, not Kakoba Division. James Bashonga Bwatota of Batota Bashonga and Company Advocates says the alleged owners of the land do not have original documents and transfer forms of the contested land.
The LCs cannot know which titles are in that area. That's why when you are buying a titled land, the law tells you to go to lands.
However, there arises concern of the sale of the land where the alleged owners allege they bought it from the late Ekoji Jovetine and the claimants allege they bought it from Matia Batunga in 2004. The case has been in court since 2006 and no judgment has been reached upon. Sudat Kaye, UBC.
Thank you so much, Sudat Kain. More stories. Border riders of Majia County, Bududa district are crying out to the government to provide them with food relief and also consider lifting the lockdown, saying that their families are doing badly. Manija Council is comprised of 9 sub-counties with 11 border stages. While receiving food relief worth 1 ton from Hands of Action, a non-government organization, the riders said their families have starved during this lockdown as they cannot access their stages.
With just a few days to the end of the 42-day COVID-19 lockdown, Manjia County border riders have a reason to smile after receiving 1 ton of maize flour as food relief from Hands of Action, a non-government organization. While receiving this relief, the riders explained the hard life they are going through. These riders expressed gratitude to the Executive Director, Hands of Action, Moses Muhove Hauha, who is also former contestant of the constituency, for thinking about them.
Mr. Muhove Musa atuata kaunga wano ngapota stage
Honorable Moses akuyamba kaunga ngatulinjale kuluma ngatoja kulia na kuyamba kabane buli mundu afunako kilo.
The Executive Director, Hands of Action, Moses Muhove, stressed that border riders are among the most affected groups in this COVID-19 lockdown.
Most people who have been affected is border in my community here. We have tried to come up with something small to be distributing to them. Border people, we have given them some food, at least 10 kilograms per person. That is what we managed to give them because they were bad low. But they were depending on that border writing. So I came up with a program to focus much on them because that is what they have been depending on. They have nothing. They have been just writing border. They have been not going to the garden. Now it has affected them a lot. Everyone was crying and calling. So we came up with that program to make sure that my people, at least they survive until the lockdown is uplifted.
Bududa District COVID-19 Task Force Chairperson, who is also the area RDC, George William Wopwa, says his office has heard the outcry of the border riders. He, however, appealed to the stakeholders to think about upcountry areas regarding to COVID-19 relief.
We also have been having this outcry. So the people outside there are reaching it out to us to pass it over to government. So even them, they are not doing well. Because in an area like Bududa, It's very difficult to find somebody with an acre of land. So the produce from the land, especially now that the markets are closed, cannot sustain homes. So the appeal, and which is justified, that let the government think beyond the cities, because last time also, government concentrated on the cities.
WOPWA also advised the residents to immediately bury the bodies that are confirmed to have succumbed to COVID-19 to avoid further spread of coronavirus.
We are appealing to our people that burial should take fast, be done fast. This idea of LOC 1 speaking, LOC 2, the clan leader should stop. The longer you keep the body, the more you invite congregations and the people to come.
Well, with that, we'll take a short commercial break and we'll be back with business stories.
Today in history.
It was 24th July 1964 when the Johannesburg railway station exploded during the evening rush hours. This explosion resulted in 2 deaths of 1 person and severe injuries to more than 20 others. It later emerged that Frederick John Harris, a teacher and a member of the African Resistance Movement, was responsible for this incident, and he was charged with murder and 2 counts of sabotage. Harris was convicted by Justice Lodoff and sentenced to death.
As the financial year 2020-2021 draws to an end, URA has put measures in place to facilitate taxpayers to file their returns and pay taxes within the set deadline. All our offices across the country and the URA Contact Center shall remain open to provide extra support to our esteemed taxpayers. Additionally, we have extended our contact center service hours from 8 a.m. to 11 p.m. Monday to Friday and from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. on Saturdays and public holidays. In light of the COVID-19 risks, we encourage taxpayers to reach us through our improved contact center and other online platforms instead of making physical visits to our offices. For online support, please reach us through our toll-free lines 0800 117 000 or 0800 217 000. Email services@ura.go.ug. Website ura.go.ug. Social media: Facebook, URA page, Twitter @URA Uganda. URA Customs Help Tool, help.ura.go.ug/login. URA appreciates all taxpayers who have duly fulfilled their obligations. Stay safe and let us all observe the standard operating procedures to prevent further spread of the COVID-19 virus. Stay safe as we develop Uganda together.
Uganda Revenue Authority, developing Uganda together.
We've cut and reduced our MTN Momo withdrawal rates. Now you can withdraw mobile money at the lowest rates. You also get MTN Central Points when you deposit, send, and withdraw MTN mobile money. Visit our Momo agents countrywide and withdraw mobile money at our reduced rates from 1st May 2021. Everywhere you go, MTN.
Echa COVID-19 chijja kugwa only if we stay at home, observe physical distancing, wear masks properly, sanitize or wash our hands with soap and water regularly, or get vaccinated now.
In efforts to improve quality assurance and Uganda's competitiveness as a tourist destination, Uganda Tourism Board is set to undertake a nationwide grading and classification exercise of hotel and accommodation facilities. As a member of the East African community, Uganda Subscribes to the East African Grading and Classification Criteria, a system denoted by stars ranging from 1 to 5. The grading and classification exercise will be crowned by the awarding of star ratings to facilities found compliant to the EAC minimum standards. This is therefore a call to all accommodation and facility owners and managers to register and get licensed by UTB as a requirement and get ready for participation. For more information, visit www.utb.go.ug or email qualityassurance@utb.go.ug for details. Uganda Tourism Board, promoting tourism together.
Welcome back from that short commercial break. In our sports stories, Uganda's first ever row at the Olympics, Kathleen Noble has finished third in the rippage event. Now she thus failed to make the quarter-final grade, but is still in for the classification games. Attention now turns to boxing, in which Catherine Nanziri gets Uganda underway.
Kathleen Noble's chances of qualifying to the quarterfinals of the women's single scull rowing event have been dashed after finishing out of the qualifying slots in the repechage. Noble had failed to qualify direct and in the repechage also fell short, but will now contest for classification. Focus now turns to boxing, in which Uganda's first ever female Olympian Kathleen Nanziri enters the ring first.
As in, for tomorrow is the day I'm starting my fight, and I'm going to be the first one in Team Uganda Bombers to go for the first match. And I'm well prepared that all the training we've had, the facilities we've been facilitated with, it's a very big achievement because I know I'm going to do the best in all the things I've done. And I'm expecting to do much more because I'm looking at to the gold medal.
Nanziri entertains Japanese Namiki Tsukimi in an anticipated flyweight bout that she plans to address with eloquence.
I already know who my opponent is because this is her town home, and it's a bit nervous, but not that nervous because even when I did go for the qualifiers in Senegal, I did face the Senegalese, and it wasn't that bit of scary because we are the same people, and I know I'm gonna make it because I think even if she has more exposure than me, I know I'm gonna make it to the end because I did all my best, and I'm willing to do all I can so that I could win this fight.
Uganda sent 25 athletes to the 2020 Tokyo Olympics, most of whom are runners whose action starts next Friday. John Barnes, Centum, reporting.
Uganda has failed in its bid to win the CECAFA Under-23 Challenge Cup following its first all draw, with Tanzania not being enough to see it out of Group A. Now, this tournament was played out in 3 groups, with the top from each earning a semi-final berth. Unfortunately for Uganda, that drew its opener with DR Congo. The latest result against Tanzania that earlier bit DR Congo isn't enough.
In the CECAFA Under-23, Uganda has just been eliminated from the competition. From the group stages, Uganda managed to only collect 2 points out of the 6 that it was meant to collect. Uganda opened up the competition with a 0-0 draw against DRC Congo, and today they picked up a 1-1 draw with Tanzania. Uganda had the chance to take the lead after Stephen Mukwala missed from the penalty spot. Then Tanzania went on to score from its penalty to give them the lead.
Penalty ambayo alipiga Bryson Raphael Nkulula akampeleka marikiti mlinda mlango. Tanzania wakipata bao la kutangulia, moja kati ya penalty tamu kweli, penalty nzuri mno.
But later on, towards the end of the first half, Uganda went on to equalize, and again Stephen Mukwala was the person that put the ball in the back of the net.
Beki wa kushoto Uganda rusha mpira ndani kule, unagongwa kichwa, unaondoshwa, anawegezea mwendo tena, lakini bado Uganda wamelisa kama lango la Tanzania. Mpira mnyunyizo ule wa kichwa, nafasi ile eka ndani kule, ameandika bao la kusawazisha Stephen Mukwala.
Now this guarantees Uganda with only 2 points, Tanzania with 4 points, and Tanzania crosses over to the semi-final at the expense of Uganda. From Group A, Tanzania 4, Uganda 2, and DR Congo with 1 point in the entire action. Now the question we shall be asking is, what has happened to the Uganda team that qualified to the semi-final semi-finals of the Under-23. And it's the same team that actually has played today and failed to get out of the group stages. Reporting for the CECAFA Under-23 here, my name is BODA for UBC Tonight.
Thank you so much for tuning in to watch UBC News Tonight at exactly 8 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. My name is Sharon Chomdeshe. Have a good night and stay tuned for more programming coming your way, and do join us again at 10 p.m. for more news.
Thanks for tuning on UBC. Once again, Kutesa Mili with your weather update. We are still experiencing strong winds over Lake Victoria and across the shores, so please, those who are using the lake, stay warned and take precautions. Getting back to the weather side, we are having a ridging over the tip of South Africa that is pushing in the hazy and dusty wind towards the southwestern part of our country. That's bringing the hazy conditions towards that country. But the northern is still experiencing light showers because of the rain, but is still confined in that area and the local effects. Tomorrow morning, we expect to wake up with sunny intervals in most parts of the country, apart from some few areas still across low showers and the eastern part of our country and that area of Arua. Afternoon hours, we expect a continuation of sunny intervals in most parts of the country still, apart from some few areas in Karamoja region is expected to have light showers. Temperature to rise up to 31 degrees of maximum in northern part of our country, 30 across the east and along lake shores, 29 in our capital city Kampala, 25 at the Kabale Highlands, and 32 with the highest of Kasese region. News moving out of our country touring other cities across the group. We are forecasting sunny conditions across Doha and Cape Town, sunny intervals across Washington, D.C., cloudy conditions in Beijing, London with light showers with a maximum of 21 degrees Celsius. Thanks for tuning on UBC. I remain Kutesa Mili. Stay tuned and see you tomorrow.
Welcome to English in a Minute from home. The EIM team would never try to hoodwink you. But what does that mean? Let's listen.
Anna, you know the fruit seller near our office?
Oh, you mean Pete?
Yeah, he tried to hoodwink